My mother didn't even lower her voice when she said it. I know you paid off the $680,000 mortgage.
But we're gifting the house to your brother as his graduation present.
I was still holding the phone when she added,
Almost cheerfully, and you're not invited to the party.
The room around me went quiet in that sharp, unreal way, like every year I'd spent saving that house had evaporated at once. I turned to my uncle, the only person who knew the truth, and asked, "You want to tell them, or should I?" Because 3 days later, nothing about their big day looked the same. I grew up in a 2-story house on a quiet street in Rochester. The kind of place where neighbors waved from their porches and every season had its own sound. To most people, that house looked steady white siding, a porch light that never quite warmed up, and curtains my mother loved to iron. But inside, there was an order you learned early, or you suffered for it. My mother, Angela Dawson, owner of a busy neighborhood restaurant and unquestioned authority of our home, had a way of turning her version of events into fact. She carried herself like someone who held the entire family on her shoulders. Even when the weight came from choices she refused to face. My father, Gregory, a quiet mechanic who worked long hours, mostly followed her lead. He rarely pushed back, not even when the truth bent so far it scraped the ground. And then there was Dylan, my younger brother. 4 years behind me, but always miles ahead in my mother's eyes. He got the new backpacks, the weekend trips, the tutors when his grades dipped. I got, "You're strong. You'll figure it out." It was framed like praise, but it felt like dismissal wearing cheap perfume. By 16, I knew the rules. Dylan's needs came first. My father stayed neutral. And my mother ran the household like a stage she refused to step down from. I worked after school, saved for community college, and learned not to ask for anything she'd already decided I didn't need. Independence wasn't a choice.
It was survival. Years later, during a visit home, I opened a kitchen drawer and found a stack of unopened envelopes from the bank.
Heavy, stamped, ignored. My parents were months behind on the mortgage. The house was slipping away. And my mother, the woman who loved being seen as the hero, hadn't said a word. That night, I sat in my old bedroom and did the math. 5 years' worth of payments would stall my own life, but losing that house would destroy them.
So I stepped into the space my mother swore she already occupied.
And I carried the weight myself. She never mentioned those payments again, except to take the credit. 3 days after that phone call, I stood beneath a row of maples at our annual family cookout by Lake Ontario. The air smelled like charcoal and sunscreen, the same mix I'd grown up with. But something in the atmosphere felt tilted, as if everyone else had received a script I hadn't seen. I spotted Dylan laughing with cousins who already spoke as if the house were his. "When he moves in," one said, "he should redo the yard. It's a great starter home." Starter home. The words tasted like gravel. Across the picnic tables, my mother stood at the grill, waving her hands as she told yet another polished version of reality. "It was brutal keeping the place afloat," she said. "But you know me. I wasn't about to let that house slip away." People nodded. No one questioned the story. No one wondered who wrote the checks. Then came the real blow. My cousin, who worked with financial records, pulled me aside. "Your mom's already trying to transfer the house into Dylan's name," she whispered.
"But the trust your uncle set up,
"It's blocking everything." My world sharpened. The trust.
the one Uncle Edward insisted I sign just in case." I crossed the field to where he sat watching the crowd.
I laid the folder of receipts and trust documents on the table. Conversations around us quieted, one ripple at a time. "Melody," he murmured, "are you sure?"
I wasn't sure about much.
But I was done disappearing. That night, I drove to my parents' house. I expected an argument. Maybe a cold exchange. Instead, the silence felt staged. The porch light flickered as always. But when I slipped my key into the lock, it wouldn't turn. The door cracked open just enough for Dylan to fill the gap. "Mom said you should call first," he muttered. "You changed the lock," I said. He didn't deny it. "This place is in transition right now." As if the house I'd saved was shedding me like old paint. The drive home blurred. I dumped 5 years of receipts, bills, and trust papers onto my kitchen table.
Everything I had carried alone lay in a messy, damning heap. A quiet knock broke the stillness.
Uncle Edward stepped inside, looked at the papers and exhaled. "Your mother's pushing harder than I expected," he said.
Luckily, the trust gives you more than leverage.
"It gives you control." The next morning, I brought everything to Attorney Patrick O'Neill. "Melody," he said, "you're not powerless. You have every legal right to block any transfer."
So, I filed the paperwork. Quiet. Clean. Final 3 days.
That's all it would take. And then, on Dylan's big graduation day, everything unraveled. Balloons were tied to the mailbox. Tables were set. Decorations in my mother's favorite colors filled the yard. From a distance, it looked perfect. But halfway up the driveway, a white city vehicle sat parked. Two officials stood on the porch with clipboards. "Ma'am," one said to my mother, "we're delivering formal notice. This property has an active dispute under the trust. No transfer can proceed." My mother's smile collapsed. "This is a mistake," she insisted. "It's our home." "Not according to payment records," the official replied.
Authority belongs to the name on the trust.
His finger tapped the folder. My name. Before she could respond, a tow truck turned the corner. Dylan's car was repossessed on the spot. Relatives froze mid-step. Balloons fluttered. Decorations sagged.
It looked like a party collapsing under its own weight. I stepped out of my car.
Patrick and Uncle Edward walked beside me. "You did this," my mother hissed. "I enforced the trust you signed," I said. "This is Dylan's graduation."
He deserves this house. He didn't pay for it, I answered. Patrick spoke calmly.
"Mrs. Dawson, the trust states clearly. The person making the payments has final authority." "That person is Melody." Gasps spread through the watching family. "You're kicking us out?" Dylan burst out, voice cracking. "I'm following the agreement," I said. "The one Mom signed. The one that protected this home." My mother's voice broke. "I'm your mother. You can't do this to me." "I didn't do anything," I said quietly. "You did." The tow truck pulled away with Dylan's car. A "Congrats Dylan" banner sagged in the middle. People slipped out quietly, pretending they suddenly remembered somewhere else to be. Their big day wasn't ruined. It was rewritten. In the weeks that followed, the review confirmed everything. The trust stood. The payments stood. The house shifted fully under my authority. My parents moved into a modest rental. Dylan took a warehouse job. For the first time, life asked something of him. As for me, I slowly made the house mine. I fixed the porch step, repainted the kitchen, opened windows untouched for years. And I learned something I had avoided for so long. Protecting yourself isn't betrayal. It's love, the kind you give yourself when the people who should have cared chose comfort over truth.
I didn't win a victory over my family.
I stepped out of the shadow they kept me in. If you've ever been written out of your own story, you're not alone. Share your experience in the comments, and hit subscribe so you don't miss what comes next.